and welcome. You're watching News Central Television. I am Judith TB. It's time for News Central now, and here are the top stories at this hour. Death toll from attack on Bassa local government area of Plateau State by gunmen rises to 51. Many more wounded. Tear gas fired as protests for and against emergency rule break out in Rivers State. And Gabon's military leader wins presidential election with a landslide victory. Details shortly. Let's start by telling you that the death toll from Monday's attack on Ziki community Kimakba, Kwal district of Bassa, local government area of Plateau State, has hit 51, with several houses razed and many more in hospital. Kwal community leader Wakili Tungo said the attackers, invaded the village in the early hours of Monday and shot sporadically at residents who were scampering for safety after hearing gunshots. He added that a team of vigilantes, including himself and some security personnel, were on patrol in and around the community when the attackers invaded the village and started shooting. Some other residents sustained gunshot wounds and are receiving medical attention at the hospital. Still talking insecurity, Senator Ali Ndume has raised concerns over a resurgence of Boko Haram attacks in Borno State, saying more than 300 people have been killed in 252 incidents over the past 6 months. Addressing journalists in Abuja, Ndume said the worsening security situation prompted Governor Babangana Zulum to lead a delegation to the military high command. The team met with senior defense officials, including the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa. Ndume disclosed that 3 local government areas, Gudambali, Mate, and Abadam, are currently under Boko Haram control, with movement between locations restricted after 6 p.m. While commending the military efforts, Ndume stressed that troops are overstretched and urgently need better training, equipment, and motivation to counter the growing insurgency effectively. And still in Borno State, in response to the recent resurgency of terrorist attacks in Borno State, the Chief Whip of the Senate, Mohammed Mongono, has announced that an additional security personnel and military hardware will be deployed to the region. This follows a high-level meeting between Governor Babangana Zulum and senior security chiefs in Abuja. News Center's Umaru Kirawa reports.
The security situation in Borno State has become a growing source of concern for both residents and the Nigerian government. Caught amidst the chaos are these individuals on the Maiduguri-Damboa road, an area notorious for insurgents' attacks, shortly after a bomb blast in Damboa, which left several people dead and many others injured.
We decided to meet the security chiefs against the background of the resurgence of the Boko Haram insurgency in the nooks and crannies of the state. There is renewed hope based on the assurance that they have given the governor and his delegation that more personnel will be redeployed back to the theater, and more military hardware will also be redeployed back to the theater with a view to combating the Boko Haram insurgency. So there is zero hope in the horizon. Any government that fails and or neglects to perform that primary duty of guaranteeing peace, order, and good governance, that government is not supposed to last a minute longer than absolutely necessary.
Gathered here are security operatives, including the Army, Civil Defense, Immigration, Police, Civilian JTF, Hunters, among others. This specialized training session aims to improve collaboration and curb the rising insecurity.
We collaborate with other civilians to get the relevant information. We are using with our knowledge and weapon, but they are using all their eye to see what is going. They tell us to go and gather to tackle the issues.
Walter Kurman Zankali Bida Rochinsona, Amasama succeeding Sadi, Anna Kadro Bara Gomna Tedanya Askrina so and just supporting Sri machine so, Motos are rich in Kadro, Sai so Tarandia, Chizakala, Toreda than Amunjo Chilazai.
Dr. Emmanuel Mamman, a security analyst and director at Nigeria's Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, says while the increased military presence is a step forward, it must be part of a broader strategy.
There is a lot to do in terms of dialogue together, trying to know what exactly the issues are and trying to profile local solutions, local measures that can address these challenges.
As preparations for the deployment get underway, many are hopeful that this renewed government focus will bring lasting improvements to Borno's security landscape. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Let's circle back to Plateau, shall we? As the national president of the Birom Youth's Morda Association, Barrister Solomon D. Daliop joins us from Jos for more on the security situation in Bassa. Solomon, many thanks for doing this with us. Can I just ask, what is really happening on the Plateau? I mean, what's going on? Tell us.
Yeah, Plateau, being known as a home of peace and tourism, has now been turned to a theater of attacks, killings, and massacre of innocent people by suspected men to be Fulani militants. And of course, having not come out of the experience of April 2nd genocide that was meted out on the natives of Hurti in Bokos local government area. This morning, we've woken up with another round of invasion that was carried out by same group known as suspected Fulani headsmen, who went into the village of Kimapa, that is Ziche community, and carried out a dastardly act that has resulted to the loss of 54 people and the entire survivors displaced. They overran the whole place and razed it down. And of course, the situation in the state is very pathetic because this has been a cycle of invasion and attack by Fulani headsmen as far as we're concerned. Because even as at last night, at about 7 p.m., there was an early warning to the effect that bandits have been brought from part of Kaduna, part of Bauchi and Nasarawa state into a place called Mahanga area and also Dorowa Babuje. And of course, lo and behold, at about 12 midnight, the people of Irigwe, native inhabitants, were visited with this dastardly act of terrorism as far as we are concerned. So the situation in the state is very appalling. And of course, people are crying and lamenting for justice. And of course, at the moment, we've not heard of any arrest so far made. But of course, there is a deployment of security, because security were deployed to that area at about an hour after the incident because of the terrain.
Right.
Movement into that place.
Solomon, you said mobilization of security is being, done now, just an hour after the attack. But we thought that with the public mobilization from last week, where we saw stakeholders plus the governor come together to say that, security will be beefed up and would not see what had happened at Bokos community ever happen again. It begs to ask the question, what changed between that time and now? The period between Bokos, that stakeholder meeting, and Bassa is too close for this to have happened.
Of course, of course, it has been like a recurring decimal and this the general expression that security are on top of the situation, which we cannot deny that one. But of course, in this particular incident, the attacker seems to have gathered more intelligence in terms of strategy, to see in areas that security are not covered, because security cannot be everywhere in Plateau State. And so they possibly took advantage of the vulnerability of the place, seeing that there are no security presence in that place. And so they move and strike. And of course, we wouldn't want to blame them, because anytime that the native arise to defend themselves, you see, there will be arrest. People are not allowed to defend themselves. And that has always been a factor that is giving, the attackers an edge over native inhabitants or over residents on the plateau. Because once the Fulani camp, comes out for grazing, it has always been a strategy or a ploy to survey areas that have no security presence. And then, of course, after then, we will see that an attack is unleashed on the people. So that has always been their modus operandi. Most of the villages and communities that have been under attack, previously and in the recent time, have always witnessed influx of Fulani headsmen coming for grazing, and then they cannot send them away. If you send them away, they unleash terror on whoever is challenging that. And then, of course, allowing them to graze freely. It is also another way of, allowing them to come and attack at any time. So that has always been the strategy. Otherwise, how would they have known that there is no security presence in that place? And then, of course, they can carry out this attack freely without intervention of the military until when there will be, deployment. And then by then they might have consummated their plans and then, fled away. So that has always been the challenge on the plateau.
Solomon, your submission now just somewhat mirrors your group's statement that was issued blaming ethnic sponsorship of the killings. Is that what you're saying? Are you saying that you have a bit of credible intelligence as to what exactly is causing this that we're seeing in Plateau when we saw relative peace earlier?
Of course, looking at the arrest that was made after the attack in Rui, that was an attack carried out on the 27th, day of March, when mourners gathered to mourn their loved ones, and then the attackers went and killed over 10 people. And then of course arrests were made by the security based on intelligence gathered. And then of course another round of attack was made on Hurti. So of course security must have arrested some of the sponsors of that particular attack on Rui, and that is what is now provoking the militants, the Fulani militants, to now come with another round of attack, so that it will prove to the world that if you arrest our own, we will definitely come after you. Because nobody will just embark on discriminate arrest without an intelligence gathering, which I want to believe is one of the functions of the military in this operation, which has aided in terms of arresting situation, arresting criminals. And then it is very, very appalling and very disheartening based on another round of intelligence that has been given out that some high profile, elite of these militants have now come into the state and are now making ways in ensuring that those people arrested are released with immediate effect. And of course, it has come to our notice and our eyes are keenly watching. We are following up on the development to see whether those individuals will be arrested, having been, given credible intelligence as to. And then, of course, that intelligence, these are individuals that have been known over time in sponsoring and perpetrating these acts, either supplying arms to the militants or they themselves participating actively, in making out this mayhem on innocent Nigerians. So our eyes are widely open and our ears are on ground to see whether there will be release of those individuals instead of subjecting them to the wrath of the law. After thorough investigation, and they are found out to have been, involved in what is happening on the plateau.
Solomon, you have said a lot. One of them is that you have credible intelligence and, you are privy to some information. And so I have to ask you, what then will be the solution, a permanent end to the killings and violence? The Plateau people have seen enough. I think this is about time that they see peace, a lasting peace. What then will be a lasting solution to the problem of the Plateau?
Of course, if it were an ethnic or communal clash or group clash and what have you, we can now clamor for peace and dialogue, as medium of resolving, conflict and what have you. But there is no subject matter of this war or two conflicting parties. It is terrorists, bandits that are coming to attack innocent individuals who have not done anything wrong to justify or to kind of inform this, genocide and massacre of innocent individuals. So the solution to it is that a kinetic approach should be deployed maximally to ensure that the individuals that are perpetrating these acts are made to face the wrath of the law.
All right.
That is the major and then the primary, solution to this. And then, of course, plateau villages and communities have been overrun and currently under the occupation of these attackers. And nothing is seen to have been done. Why wouldn't there be a full deployment toward the dislodgement of these bandit elements from the state?
All right.
So that Plateau State will know peace as it has been known as a form of peace and tourism. Otherwise, it will be a recycle of violence and it will invariably be an encouragement to the attackers to continue perpetrating this, crime against humanity that we are witnessing in the state.
All right. Solomon, many thanks for doing this with us. We're out of time. I wish we could continue. Solomon Diary up there from Jos, giving us a bit of insight on the insecurity and the killings in Bassa local government area of the state. Now to the northwest, where the Kano state government says that it has arrested over 500 suspected criminals allegedly engaged in a variety of crime, including phone snatching, armed robbery, burglary, amongst others. This was as senior officials on the state government, representatives of its Peace and Security Committee, and the State Police Commissioner met with traditional leaders in the state, warning them against being complicit in promoting insecurity. News Centro's Emmanuel Bagudu tells us more.
The Kano State Security Committee, also known as the State Task Force for Peace and Youth Rehabilitation, during its recent inauguration by the State Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf. The mandate of the task force is to rid the state of violent crimes such as drug abuse, phone snatching, armed robbery, and others. As the committee converts in the state capital with stakeholders to give an update on its operations since its inauguration, representatives of the committee say that over 500 suspected criminals have been arrested within the last 60 days. They called for more support from traditional rulers in the state. The state government, while raising an alarm over the activities of saboteurs within the state responsible for frustrating the efforts of security operatives and serving as informants to criminal elements, warned that the activities will no longer be tolerated.
Hukumomin tsaro musamman na 'yan sanda kullun kiransu kenan. Tsaro ba su ne da damarar su tsaro ba. Sai al'umma na gurare sun yunkura da kansu sun yadda za su goya musu baya sannan za a samu tsaro irin wanda ake bukata.
We are tracking. As from the yesterday night, we have arrested more than 500 people, suspected criminals. Some of them are murderers, some are drug dealers, and some of them are phone snatchers. And we are doing it wonderfully. And in this committee, I forget to mention even the judiciary who provide the mobile court. So we are doing everything within the confinement and the framework of the legal system. If we have drug cases, then we refer it after arrest to the NDLE. If we have a treasury order or robbery, then we refer it to the either police. If we have something to investigate, then we lie with the police department of SIV and the DSS.
The State Police Commissioner Ibrahim Bakuri says that he is aware of the efforts of the committee and expressed optimism that its proposed partnership with traditional rulers will improve its operations.
Mengos at the grassroots, at the one living with the community, the grassroots community. That's the basis of community-based policing, and that's the vision and mission of Inspector General of Police.
Citizens of Kano State will be hoping that this partnership with traditional rulers will help the committee achieve its mandate more effectively. In Kano for News Central, Emmanuel Bagudu.
You're watching News Now on News Central Television. Let's go on a short break, shall we? When we return, the Rivers Magistrate resigns from judicial service, citing inability to cope with military-style emergency rule. We'll bring you the details of this and more just after this break. Stay with us. Hey, welcome back. And now we head to Port Harcourt, the River State capital, where women took to the streets on Monday in a show of support for the declaration of emergency rule by President Bola Tinubu. They are calling for the prosecution of persons behind the arson at the State Assembly complex and a thorough investigation into the Okojombo-led faction of the Assembly. News Central's Bola Festus has more.
It's another Monday morning and the streets of Port Harcourt are once again filled with demonstrators.
With the loud sound of music behind me, and of course, these women who are beautifully dressed, gyrating, one would think a party is going on here. But these are women from the 23 local government areas of Rivers State who have come out in procession to appreciate the federal government for the declaration of emergency rule in Rivers State.
Women from all 23 local government areas of Rivers State, under the banner of Rivers Women for Peace and Good Governance, turned out in large numbers to show solidarity and appreciation for President Bola Tinubu's decision to declare a state of emergency in Rivers State.
We want to thank the President for averting the impending danger that was looming on Rivers people. We want to thank the President for bringing us a bus. We want to thank the President for saving our state from chaos.
If there is problem in Rivers State, as they said, you can't be here. Your station cannot be here. People will not invest in Rivers State. I'm just telling them, let the visitors come. The investors should come.
Holding placards with messages like, Rivers State deserves peace, not Fubara. State of emergency is constitutional, and thank you, President Tinubu, for saving Rivers State. The women demanded a full investigation into the attack on the State Assembly complex.
For over 2 years, the legislature was clamped down. Our House of Assembly was burnt down. We remember our legislators when they now moved to their residence. What happened? That place was also almost demolished. All because of a normal constitutional process called impeachment. It's in the Constitution. It's not there. It's there. Are we waiting till when we burn down ourselves? No. Before the President will declare? No.
Dressed in matching white outfits, the women marched from Garrison Roundabout to Isaac Borough Park, closely monitored by police escorts. The women say the peace they have long hoped for has finally arrived, thanks to the emergency rule.
There is no more threat from the militants, no burning of public assets, no tribal war anymore. We can live, we can sleep, and we're enjoying it. The sole administrator is doing a very good job. We love it to the end.
As the procession ended at Isaac Adaka Borough Park in the city center, the women broke into singing, dancing, and gyration before peacefully dispersing. In Rivers, for News Central, I'm Biola Festus.
But Monday's events were more than just a protest to back emergency rule. A group of counter-protesters also came out in faraway Ahoada East local government area of the state to declare support for Governor Fubara and demand his reinstatement. While those clamoring support for the sole administrator and state of emergency were given protection by the Nigerian police, their counterparts protesting against the emergency rule and for the reinstatement of the suspended governor and his deputy were harassed and tear-gassed by the police. The Chief Magistrate in the Rivers State Judiciary, K.E. George, has announced his voluntary retirement from service. In a letter addressed to the Chief Judge of Rivers State, George cited the appointment of what he described as a quasi-military administration to oversee the affairs of modern-day Rivers State as the reason for his decision. He described the governance style as both unfamiliar and contrary to the sacred principles of the legal profession. So, having served as a magistrate for 16 years, George stated that continuing under the current arrangement would be tantamount to endorsing or submitting to a system he fundamentally disagrees with. Joining us now for more on this is Alistair Wilcox. He's an public affairs commentator, and he joins us virtually from Lagos to give us more insight on what's happening in Rivers State. Quite a lot of events been happening since Friday all the way down to today. Alistair, protests and counter-protests, and seeing what security agents have done to the counter-protesters. Are we nearer to a solution in Rivers State?
Well, I'm not surprised. Rivers State, as far as it is now, there is an open check given to a bus by the president, an open check, so he can use the money as he likes. So it's not out of place for him to also organize his own protest to show up his own absent popularity in Rivers State. Ibas is not a Rivers man, and Ibas was imposed on Rivers people by Wiki and the president. And for me, it's a sad development as a Rivers man. Yeah, it's a very sad development that every time in Rivers State, we have this kind of pro and counter protests. It didn't start today. It started right from the time of Peter Odili, and it has continued. The Rivers people have shown themselves, especially those who will support evil, shown themselves that they all have a price, and sometimes a price as low as a morsel of bread, and that's what you see those women. And it's shameful for you to see mothers, persons who should be giving their children good values and good conduct, that should be helping to build a society where truth and righteousness will uphold. Some of them come out from church yesterday, because Rivers is a Christian state. Some of them came out from church yesterday, and you find them wearing white, something that signifies purity, and marching to support evil in their own land. That means they have their price. In fact, even what do you call it? Esau has a better price than what they are doing. No matter the temptation, the law, military rule. I mean, like we have in Rivers State today, it's an aberration, and everyone fought against it. So even as it's happening now on a quasi level, these people should be ashamed that they see themselves as tools, willing tools to make an illegality, a grass imposition on their own people, on themselves. It's like a burden is given to you because you live in a place, or you are opportune to benefit from that burden, which is not right, and then you come out to demonstrate and protest, and you get police cover, and a contrary protest get police brutality. This shows the society we are living in. And
Alistair, yeah, I just want to continue, right, because we're really pressed for time here. I'm worried, and I wonder if you are as well, because the women in white, the protesters in white, one of them, they were also calling and saying that they do not mind having the sole administrator staying in office till 2027. I mean, is this even a democratic solution at all? I know you're scratching your head.
I just said it. That shows that their pride is so low and their mentality is so shallow. You don't expect a reasonable human being that has dignity and pride to tell you that even if there's a dispute, a political dispute, I mean, people won election, people lost election. If there's a political dispute and you are saying that instead of your two brothers to reconcile and share your father's property, that a foreigner should take over the property simply because the foreigner makes you a gardener or a cleaner in that property. No, are you getting my scenario?
Yes, sir.
That instead of you to have your brothers in the house and you have problem, and you are saying that instead of either of your brothers to gain, to have that property, a foreigner should take it because he made you a cleaner, a cook, a gardener in that property. So that tells you the level of low morality and mentality that we have submitted ourselves to in Nigeria, especially in Rivers State. This is not the first time. Like I told you, this is not the first time. The same system, the same thing people they did during all the period. In fact, if it was possible that Peter Odili would have ruled Rivers State forever, the same song they sang for him. They sang the same for Amechi. They sang it for Wiki. So this shows the low level that Rivers indigenes have brought themselves to. And this is a state that has produced some of the best hands and brains in this country. This is a state that has produced some of the best moral compass individuals with moral compass in this country. That's the same state that is producing mediocres and persons who can be bought with less than a morsel of bread. For me, it's sad. And that the children of these women, we see them running very wide, paid for by IBAS or whoever, paid for by whoever promoted them. And then they come to the street to tell you that they prefer a state to run River State, simply because they will benefit and they will be made gardeners and cleaners and the cooks in the house that they are supposed to occupy. That tells you the level of indignation that people have brought themselves to. And for me, it's a shame, it's a disgrace, it's nothing but moral bankruptcy as far as societal values are concerned. We believe in values. The Rivers people are known to be people of value and morality.
All right.
Politics have brought the Rivers people down to the level of dogs and persons of irrationality and persons of unquestionable characters that will parade themselves.
Alistair, I have to make you stop because that's very generalistic, and I have to make you stop here. But Alistair, many thanks for just giving us a bit of insight here on the counter-protest and protests happening in Rivers since on Friday. Alistair Wilcox, he is a public affairs commentator, just giving us more insight. To switch gears away from Rivers and out to politics, the governors elected under the platform of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, have ruled out the possibility of a merger or coalition with any other political party ahead of the 2027 general election. The governors made their position known in a communique issued on Monday after their meeting in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Discussions about forming a coalition to challenge the All Progressives Congress, APC, have been gaining traction ahead of the 2027 elections. Also, opposition politicians have been holding meetings in this regard. One of the leading advocates for the coalition is Atiku Abubakar, the PDP standard bearer in the 2023 elections. Abubakar has consistently pushed for a coalition among opposition parties ahead of the 2027 elections to unseat the APC-led government headed by President Bola Tinubu. Nigeria is estimated to lose around $1.1 billion annually to medical tourism, largely due to citizens seeking better healthcare abroad. In a bold move to help close this gap, Avon Medical, one of Nigeria's leading healthcare providers, has officially launched a state-of-the-art medical facility in Surulere, Lagos State. It's a groundbreaking step aimed at transforming the standard of healthcare delivery in the country. News Central's Bettina Nweli reports.
I commission and dedicate this today to the glory of God and to the benefit of mankind. Thank you.
The grand unveiling drew several high-profile dignitaries, including senior government officials and healthcare leaders, all gathered to witness what many describe as a significant leap forward in Nigeria's medical landscape. Located in the heart of Lagos, the ultra-modern hospital is equipped with cutting-edge technology, world-class patient care systems, and a wide array of specialized services designed to meet the increasing demand for quality health care.
From our humble beginnings of operating just one worksite clinic at a single location, we've grown into a 50-bed hospital network, including a dialysis center, which is currently located at Ikeja, and several worksite clinics, both in Lagos and in other parts of the country. In Nigeria alone, the gap in the number of available and qualified doctors, beds, equipment reflects a system under pressure. The African healthcare system is the hardest hit by the migration crisis. Now, these are not mere numbers. They represent people, real stories, real lives. And far too often, they represent women and children.
With advanced diagnostic laboratories, modern surgical theaters, and telemedicine capabilities, Avon Medical's new facility is setting a new benchmark for clinical excellence. The hospital also prioritizes accessibility offering affordable services without compromising on quality.
Let us build our own health institution. Let's reverse the over $2 billion that we say we take out, on a year-on-year basis. The other day, I was at a facility in which somebody has a robotic for prostate, intervention, very small, invasive, and we're working with some of you here to also develop other cancer centers. These are high-end medical facilities that is required. It's no longer just, a lip service thing. It's investment that we all need to have.
In a country grappling with healthcare challenges such as brain drain, infrastructural deficits, and uneven access to care, Avon Medical is tackling these issues directly, investing in local talent, supporting medical training programs, and leveraging digital solutions to improve outreach and efficiency.
This is not just a step forward for us, it's a leap forward into the future of healthcare in Nigeria and Africa. Under the visionary umbrella of Hares Holdings and with the spirit of Afri-capitalism guiding us, we believe in doing well while doing good. We believe that a sustainable impact must be felt in every home, in every family, and every community.
Make sure that this is a great place to work.
As Nigeria moves towards achieving universal health coverage, facilities like Avon's new center are proving critical, demonstrating that with the right investment and vision, the future of healthcare in Nigeria is bright. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwi.
You're watching News Now on News Central Television. Coming up, Amnesty International urges the Ghanaian government to take action to protect people accused of witchcraft, particularly older women. We'll tell you all about this and even more just after this break. Stay with us. Hey, welcome back. It's off to Gabon, where provisional results released by Gabon's Interior Ministry show junta leader Brice Oligui Nguema has claimed a resounding victory in the presidential election, securing 90.35% of the vote. Speaking to jubilant supporters, the junta leader called for national unity and collective effort, declaring that there was no happiness without hard work. The election signals a new chapter for Gabon following last year's military coup that toppled longtime President Ali Bongo. Amnesty International is urging the Ghanaian government to take action to protect people accused of witchcraft, particularly older women who face widespread human rights abuses, including murder. Despite a 2023 bill criminalizing witchcraft accusations, the law remains unsigned. These accusations, often triggered by personal loss or illness, leave vulnerable individuals, especially those living in poverty, at grave risks. Victims are frequently banished to camps run by traditional priests, where they endure squalid conditions until they die. Amnesty is calling for the introduction of a criminal law against witchcraft accusations, stronger protections for victims, and government intervention to ensure access to basic necessities such as food, housing, and clean water. The United States government has declared a full-scale global offensive on illicit dollar holdings, targeting black market reserves, offshore accounts, and pallets of untraceable cash hidden in vaults around the world. Under the newly passed Global Corruption Accountability and Dollar Sanitization Act, any U.S. dollar found to be unregistered, hoarded, or associated with tax evasion or financial crimes will be invalidated and blacklisted through a sweeping digital traceability overhaul. According to the U.S. government, the new serial tracking system will invalidate unregistered dollar bills tied to black markets or criminal transactions. Offshore banks also must report all high-value cash dollar holdings within 90 days or face U.S. sanctions and asset freezes. Dr. Bertha Bangara Chikadza, the president of the Economics Association of Malawi, joins us now to give us a bit of insight in this report, or rather on this update. Doctor, thanks for joining us. Let's just get started, shall we? How do you foresee this act affecting the overall economy, both in the U.S. and globally? I mean, what potential economic implications could arise from invalidating unregistered dollar bills?
All right. I would say it's a good move, considering the illicit market for the dollar that is, all over the world in so many countries. But there might be a lot of implications. When we look at this, for low-income economies like, for example, Malawi or maybe the Latin America, where you see a large informal or financial market, this could be something that we can smile about because it will bring sanity in the market. It can invalidate even those holding these dollars. And in such a way, they might rush to the formal financial market to exchange them for their currencies. And this might actually bring down probably the spread that has been there between the formal financial market and the informal. And looking at it, it's a plus for countries like Malawi, for example. But when you look at the other side, it's something that is difficult to implement because there might also be some implications. There might be bigger innovations in the informal financial market because if you look at it closely, there's a lot of innovation that is happening out there. And so these people might also look at other for example, ways of innovating and trying to maybe use the dollar in a different way. So looking at it, I would say it's a good thing, but it also kind of removing some the trust that people had in the dollar because this is kind of invalidating it. And it might also pave way for maybe the rise and use of for example, Bitcoin, but also we've been hearing about, for example, BRICS, So this might, bring in some innovations, but also people might start now looking for other alternatives of the dollar because they might think that now the dollar is unstable. Even those who were holding U.S. Treasury bills, they might now look for other securities which are now stronger, which are stable, and it might bring a lot of implications that I think we cannot talk about now.
But generally positive from what you've stated here. But what changes will offshore banks need to implement in order to comply with the new regulations? How might this affect their operations as well?
Yeah, so, it will be good if it's done in a phased implementation way or gradually being done to avoid these shocks. But I think there is need to collaborate with the international partners to harmonize regulations because, we have different regulations in each and every economy. So for the U.S. to implement this, it needs to work hand in hand with other countries. We have seen that there are other countries, for example, in Dubai and other whistleblowers, which have already started collaborating if indeed this is true. But there is actually more that needs to be done in terms of maybe legal implications, the financial agreements, and so on and so forth. So there is actually need for greater collaboration with international partners just to harmonize regulations so that this can work.
Harmonize regulations so that this can work indeed. Dr. Batha Bangara Chingadza, President of Economics Association of Malawi, just giving us a bit of insight following the U.S. launch of global crackdown on illicit USD holdings. Well, that's all we can take at this hour. Thank you so much for tuning in. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Death toll from attack on Bassa local government area of Plateau State by gunmen has risen to 51 with many more wounded. Tear gas fired as protests for and against emergency rule break out in Rivers State. And we also told you that Gabon's military leader has won the presidential election with a landslide victory. Do remember that you can send us your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number now showing on the screen. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV on all social media platforms. You can always watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422. If you're on GoTV, you're in luck. We're now channel 23. Find us on there. If you're on StarTimes, find us on channel 274. Also, watch us on Avo TV Or better yet, just stream us live on YouTube. Hey, thanks for watching. I am Judith, TV. Bye for now.